Yeah.
Like, you gotta click it on, but it records the audio on the camera.
Okay.
Something, but
Yeah.
that's why it's not always as accurate to me.
Meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Carla. Here. Kelly.
Here.
Judy. Here. Lizzie. Here. Jeff.
Here.
Laura. Here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public participation. Staff reports. Rick, you got anything?
Just a couple things, the roof at the wastewater plant is leaking in the lab, so it's, when it rains hard, you got water coming through the lights, so I'm gonna have to get,
We can fix it.
yeah, it's a flat rubber roof, it's cracked everywhere.
I put it on 30 years ago.
Yeah, so we need to do something with that. Also, me and Dave, we barely got through the last 2 years with the leaf machine. It's done. We can't get parts for it. If we're gonna pick up leaves this year, we're gonna have to get something else to do.
You can get some prices on some.
I can, yeah. It's an old Wisconsin engine, there are no parts. And we're running on 3 cylinders. We barely got finished last year, so I'll get some prices.
Didn't we talked about that last fall?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Thought you could-
We put Band-Aids on it for the past 2 years to get through, so it's time for something else.
Will the street sweeper, can we use it to
It
pick
won't,
up?
it won't.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, no, it won't pick up big piles.
Oh, okay, I didn't.
So, that's all I got.
Okay, on the street sweeper. What is a plan for the street sweeper? When's the last time it's been ran and when?
Well, we couldn't run it recently because worm ball was everywhere. So there's nothing we can do there. Worm balls on every corner, so, but, they're finished. So we can do whatever kind of schedule you guys want. Typically I did it twice a month. If you want more than that, we can do it more.
Just want it ran. And on Grunt Ball, you know, I would like to put a little shout out there because I think they did a great job.
They did a really good job.
Yeah.
They worked through some nasty
They did the
weather.
worst.
So,
And I'm still impressed with this, like, how they pulled this out down here on the cheap on Central.
yeah,
I mean, that saved, it's a lot, not that much money, but $10,000.
Down South Street there at Liberty.
Yeah.
It turned out nice there, took a big hump out of
Where else?
there.
South
South
Street.
Street and Liberty.
Liberty, there was a ditch, yeah. Well, not a ditch, but it's,
Yeah, I just like for pass the word, I'm well pleased with them.
yeah.
When you street sweep, can you give, maybe somebody a heads up, like a day before, so it can be posted, so people can do their cars? Can you try?
We can try, I don't know what good it'll do, but we can definitely give it a shot, yeah.
I'd like to be able to move my car so you can do it.
Yeah,
If we decide when we're gonna do it, maybe we can post signs.
yeah,
Say,
Put a regular program out there.
yeah.
Now, since we're talking about streets in general, what is, because there's some places like up on Terry, in the cul-de-sac.
McKinley needs, actually it needs paved, McKinley does. So the main street going up,
There's some spots that are bad up there where, Catherine McKinley and right there at Jetta,
Yeah.
and there's several spots, but I don't know. Well, anyway, my ears were wide open on that, but boy, short of that, there's some good, easy places that need, or not to say easy places, but obvious places that really need cut out and repair.
yes,
And there's several places in the alley behind the funeral home, that entire alley.
yep,
There's some opening up here at DP, that side DP. So anyway, just in general, I would like to get a comprehensive, if you're not gonna pave, and that's on the thing later, but we can do it now. But, if we're not gonna pave, I'd like a comprehensive idea on what repairs would be, because really, the streets are really in good shape.
They are, no, like I said, McKinley and maybe 50 yards in on Donna, Catherine, and Jetta.
Yeah.
Those are pretty rough.
I would agree.
So McKinley and those areas are in North Main from where we stopped.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's rough, but it's not falling apart.
No, and me and David patched twice this year already, so, but yeah.
There's some potholes next to Ferguson's place, and
Yeah.
it just gets to general stuff. What about the areas that have been cut out for leaks? What's your plan on having those repaired? Could you get somebody in here to do some?
Water mains, yeah. I've already contacted Dr. Black, and also, there's a newer company outside of West Oakland called Gen 3. I've already spoke with him, he's supposed to give me a price, I took him around to all those
Yeah.
places. He's supposed to give me a price on repairing all this.
Well, we're just about out of debt, that's why it's on, we do it now, we do it later, but we're just about paid up on all of our paving loan. So, you know, we spent about $1 million over the last few years, and
Yeah.
I'd like to take a breath. If we could, maybe.
Could you talk to the township guys? When I went to one of their meetings, they had a company out there that was, they had a way to make the roads last longer, something you could do to it to extend the life of the roads. That way we're not shortchanging ourselves.
Yeah.
A lot of that is they put tar down and gravel.
It's a chip and
Yeah.
seal.
Yeah, there's a new one that a guy came and talked about. Jeff was really knowledgeable in it.
I'll find out who they talk to. Anything else? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Good staff reports. Old business. Does that need a sit down, that coming?
You can do, then, I just essentially touched on it, we think we've got one more payment, don't we, in September? And just so everybody knows, we did the first state infrastructure bank loan. I would say it's maybe been 10 years, I don't know, and that was for $400,000. And I think this last one was for 6 or 7, so we spent a lot of money on street paving in the last 10 years, and our streets, by and large, are in good shape, and just like Western Arizona, there's some places that need some attention. But I would like to, it'd just be nice not to owe any money on paving for once, but I don't think Catherine and that will strip of North Main cost that much.
You're talking about doing all of North Main from one
No,
to the
just
other?
from bridge to bridge,
Okay, I got you.
yeah,
Okay.
because that's where it's roughest, but again, it's not, it's bumpy, but it's not coming to pieces.
No.
I can get a price just to do that section from bridge to bridge.
It probably needs ground.
Yeah, and then maybe, like I said, McKinley is pretty rough right at Main Street, plus at Donna, Catherine, and then up at the end as well. It's,
That's bad.
yeah, it's coming apart. So maybe McKinley and, North Main from bridge to bridge. We can see what that
Let's
would
see.
cost.
Cause that's really it on that, but that SBI loan is a heck of a tool, because you borrow the money now, you don't have to make a payment on it for 3 years, and then you can kind of set your amortization rate, your interest rate, it's really a really good thing.
So from bridge to bridge, that was the area that was good
Right.
the last time we
Yeah.
paid, if I remember right.
It's just rough, it's not full of holes, so if you can tolerate it, you know, it's just whatever your taste is for bumpiness.
Cold weather in the winter. It's about the
Like this,
weather that.
this is hard on me.
So you guys wanna,
I signed for old business,
let's take this one here.
Well, I mean, the person wants to get quotes, I don't see anything wrong with that, but I would like to see quotes for, like I said, McKinley, but I'd like to see as much repair as we can get by with up on, because the streets aren't that bad, it's just spots that really need dug out and repaired in my view.
Of the subdivision?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mainly, the street themselves are good. In the cul-de-sac, there's an area, that's from the
That's
garbage
bad.
truck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pushed from, I figured it's from him turning.
yeah, it is. There's a couple of those, and then like I said, at the beginning of each street,
I'd like to try to,
but we could probably grind those out and repair those areas
yeah.
instead of the street.
What about the spot there by Dusty's, by the hardware, from when the state came through, What's the deal with that?
It came up, and you know what? Talking to, one of the other paving companies, they had the same issue when Barrett came through, cause they only put an inch and a half down. When Barrett came through, they had the same issues up in Gratis and on 503 with those same kinds of things. So, when Jim Reed, when I drove around with him to price the water main breaks, those places, I, had him price that too, to cut it out and fix it right.
Well, can we go back on the state on that?
I think we're responsible for minor repairs. aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that.
I know it's brand new.
Yeah. I mean, I can try, but I don't know where I'll get.
That happened right after the,
Yeah, it wouldn't no time.
It would be nice to.
Yeah,
because that's just gonna become a bigger problem if we don't do something.
it will. You have to repair it, get them to fix it, or we'll have it repaired right. At this point in time, all we've done is put some coal patch in it, so.
But let's, look at, the alley the other side, George Brothers, that's bad, and some spots as far as some good repair.
Okay.
There's some pretty good places, but I'd love to see just a good comprehensive repair.
Okay.
That would be my vote, just
Alright.
not spend a bunch of money, because things generally are good.
So you wanna pay off the city loan?
Yeah, well, that's coming in September.
In September, it'll be paid off.
Yeah.
Well, then that would give us a chance to start looking at some of our infrastructure and things that Nelson and Rusty had put together. Try getting some of those.
Well, that's another thing, yeah. Have you talked to Nelson recently?
No, I haven't.
I don't know if you wanna talk about that now, but, you know, it's, where are we, old or new? Well, I guess it's old, because it's something we've been talking about, because Nelson was here and talked about it. I asked him about, the other day, there was that, remember that system he was talking about that would, essentially automate a lot of the, not a lot, but some of the plant would require less hours for him and others to be there.
SCADA.
Say again?
SCADA, it's called SCADA.
Yeah. So, you know, we don't have any water debt or sewer debt. We paid that off several years ago. And that's when we dropped rates because we didn't have that debt. But, you know, there's several things, that SCADA thing would be really good because when Nelson goes, whoever, well, it's gonna be tough to get someone. And there's a gentleman up at West Alexandria who is their administrator, and he has the water designations, and he could, if we had SCADA, he could actually do our hours. Because Nelson's gonna retire sooner or later, I mean, this day's coming. So, I asked Nelson to, and you should probably think about too, then, what sort of upgrades do we need down there?
Well, the biggest thing down there at the wastewater plant right now is the bar screen. The bar screen is really old. It's old technology.
The SCADA thing, he said would probably, he was guessing, would probably be $200,000.
Yeah.
So, but it'd be nice to put together your wish list of what we think that plant needs to bring it up. And maybe go out there and look for some, 1 or 2% money.
Yeah.
And bring that thing up and.
Definitely the bar screen probably is a priority down there. We have a grant for a new generator down there.
Well, he wanted to do the SCADA thing and the generator and think which not if we do all one thing and tie it all together.
Yeah.
But, I think we need to look at upgrades down there before we're.
Also,
Over a barrel.
as far as the wastewater goes, the lift station, it's in rough shape.
Well, then let's look at what it costs to fix or upgrade these things and.
Okay.
Because we've not spent any real money down there in a long time.
Up on wages, yes. All right.
I'm with, and gosh, we're good on streets and all that kind of thing. Nelson's looking into that, and then we'll get our heads together and see what it costs with, get together and sort out these water and sewer rates with Nelson and, get a more informed thing. I'll get down there and we'll coat that roof up or whatever it needs. So I know, I did it myself probably 30 years ago.
Your old business.
So we had talked about putting trees in there on Central and all that. I was up at Camden Auto, and previously, one of the other council members was up there talking to them about trees, and Star had agreed, go ahead. Well, then they had a team meeting, and they changed their mind on that. They would like no trees to be planted in front of Camden Auto. So she asked,
Down here?
yeah, she just asked if I would bring it up in a meeting so that everyone would know at the same time.
Yeah, I think we decided we would decide where they go, but if it's a friendly business, I would say we honor that.
Yeah, cause she originally said yes, and then she was like, I said yes without talking to everybody, and now that everybody's opinion's been put in, they said, you know, they don't, they prefer not.
Who was it, gentleman, that was gonna get,
I talked to him the other day, I can't think of his name offhand, she asked me too fast.
Lions
Right.
Club?
Rob.
Yeah. I told him to get together on that.
let him know.
Yeah, we're in touch.
Okay. Any other old business?
I guess the flowers.
Yes.
They fall under, so I made a copy of a quick down and dirty scope of work because there was a couple people asked about wanting to bid on it. So that way at least everyone was bidding from the same
The
value.
same thing. On this paper is,
So
this is a list of everything.
that's a list of every pot,
And how often it has to be taken care of.
and there's a description of what needs to be done, so on and so forth, so. And the plants will be ready. I think, read how long's that's here. May 13th to be picked up,
So are those plans for the pots and the beds?
that's everything.
Everything.
So Jeff, did you say that when you asked Luke about this, this was just an estimate on his part?
I had texted him, cause he had texted me and said, hey, I'd sent him a bid, and I said, well, where did you get your scope of work from, because you need something to be able to bid on, and he told me, well, I just kinda guessed.
Yeah, after the last meeting, I gave him a copy of what you emailed me, which is this, so that he could build a more, accurate quote.
But since we've got multiple people, we'll have to submit it, we'll have to put it out for bids
That makes
to
sense.
come up with it. And then I would suggest that when we do this, since this is a long-term, it's gonna last over the summer, that we'll break the payments down so much once everything's planted, so much, midsummer, then at the end of the season, when we switch some of the pots over from the plants that are in there to the fall plants, whatever. Then once that's complete, then we would make the final payment that way. We don't wanna pay everything up front.
Front, and then decide.
Then they decide they're not gonna water anymore, or they're not gonna take care of the plants. But then it gives them the description of, the weeding, trimming of everything.
Yeah.
So there was, and that's what I was saying when this came to council, I'm like, there's more to it than dumping water in a flower pot.
I wanna ask a question, and without mentioning any numbers on there. I wonder if we'd be money ahead to put some money with this thing out of the general fund and plant some, perennials. Maybe reduce the size and scope of maybe the beds where they are, plant some perennials where you're gonna have some azaleas or whatever would come on in the spring, and different things like that, and just have things in the beds where we don't have to plant something all the time, we just have seasonal blooms and just some ground cover or whatever, and then the pots would be something you do annually. And then, so you have a permanent landscape in a bed, if you wanna throw some plants in there, here and there, fine, but to spend a lot of money on bedding plants every year in two decent sized areas, this is not gonna be a one-off thing.
But this isn't, like Veterans Park, the only place that she would plant was around the flagpole. And then there are pots in the ground that she just, because the soil's so bad, nothing would grow.
Maybe we need to amend that.
So other than that, that was the big,
Seems like a lot of money every year, if we're gonna do this every
well,
year.
but it's not, the flowers are the cheap part of it. it's the maintenance
Maintenance,
of
okay, so
everything.
that's what we're getting maintenance with this then as well.
This would be,
Okay.
you own it from
Okay.
spring till fall,
Well, that's different.
because it's, I think last year we spent $500,
Okay.
$600, when I looked at the records
Gotcha.
on plans, so it's,
I would like to put more thought towards it, and since we didn't buy these flowers this time, they were bought for us, that maybe planning for next year, we look into more of what Cody's saying.
Yeah. I think there's still good donations coming in to this group though, don't we? Still.
I.
Used to, I doubt that unless you're out there shaking the
But like I said, the only,
dishes.
you're looking at, most of the stuff are the annuals are the stuff that goes in the pots. Cause the only place that there's annuals go in, that actually go in the ground, are, like I said, I think there's eight pots in the ground at Veterans Park. Is there 2 pots in the one at Whitesville Park?
I think
2 or
so.
3 there,
Yeah.
but everything else is the pots.
If we would amend the soil around where you're putting the pots, those plants would do much better in some good soil versus limited pot that will dry up faster and not really have a place. So probably need to improve on the soil.
Oh, I agree, but it's just,
Way it is.
yeah.
Rusty, were you able to, repair some of these pots, or was that?
Yeah, all the ones that were broke, me and Dave fixed. So there's 3 of them, I think we have 3 of them at the maintenance barn that are repaired. Yeah, we didn't know where exactly you guys wanted them back.
Just put them back where they were,
Okay.
cause I'm not having Helen haunt me.
Not all meetings, I don't know if I remember. I have an idea.
As long as you get the caddy there at Dusky's, one on each side of the street.
We got that.
Yeah, we can
Just
get
tell us
that.
where everything goes.
Yeah.
We'll get you on these sheets, tell
Okay.
us where everything goes.
Okay, that'll work.
Good.
Also, if you guys need houses, I got buku houses that you can dig up, we can cut them in 2 and plant them, and then within a year and a half, they're filled out, back out again, and you can't kill those things.
All right, any new business? General Fox,
Well, back to the old days. So back when, are we that far along?
Well,
He's a general fund.
I was gonna say.
Oh, okay, we're good, okay. We used to, Ken Moreland was our administrator for a while. Ken put together a nice 5 and 10 year program, you remember that? Where all council members submitted a list of, do you remember that, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay, you were around. So, it was a list of 20 things, I think. And each council member prioritized what, from 1 to 20, what they'd like to see us doing, needs done, added, subtracted, whatever. So, and I think Ben did that too, at one point. So I think I'd like to blow the dust off of that, get everybody's input and opinion on what they see, what they want, where they see us going. Because where we've been and where we are is in the outhouse. But in just, when I came to council, like me or don't like me, that's totally, of course, your opinion, or totally up to you, and that's fine. But we have set our sights on several things, and Judy and I, again, have been around longest, she remembers the most. And a lot of these things didn't get done just because automatically. It takes people putting their heads together, and then, just like the grants that we got for Hendricks and Sugar Valley and several grants, the intersections. We've got millions of dollars worth of grant money with very little out of pocket. But just to run down the list, and these are no particular order, but village priorities, is one, to reestablish order, one, to finish the handbook, one, to set aims and goals, just like I mentioned, plant more trees, restructure our rates, streets repaired, paved, establish, and this is something I wanted to do a long time, and I don't know, does anybody know where the walking path is? Has anybody heard anything on the walking path?
I talked to Mike Tackett during this project here.
Yeah.
As you guys well know, I've talked to him many times, him and Doug Kramer. I know I've told you this before, don't shoot the messenger. He said he hopes to have it complete by the end of the summer. I heard that last year as well, so.
Debbie Higgins gonna haunt you
We've
for
heard
that,
that
she
for-
still loves you.
This is the 5th year for an extension.
But with walking path, the whole idea was to create a walking path that started here, went clear up to the roadside park, come back down Main. And then anywhere that there's not a sidewalk in town, there needs to be a sidewalk. And I like sidewalks continued out 725, I'd like to see our sidewalk continue to where we can have a path that would take us clear out to the Backbone Park and get us across. There's ways to do that, we won't go into all that. But I'd like to see an entire, sidewalk, walking path, we'll call it infrastructure, pathway, whatever, to where you go outside of your house, you can get on a solid surface and end up anywhere in this town on a sidewalk or walking path, and some places outside of this town. And again, that's gonna take all of us thinking, beyond stupid things and working on the bigger things that are important. And it's gonna take, probably applying for some grants and ponying up some of our money to do that. But, so want to think about phase 2. I know Carl's talked about lighting, street lighting for Central and North and South Main. I'd like to see, especially with all the goings on South Main, I'd like to see that section between Hendricks and Central return to brick. That would just dress that up. There's money out there for that kind of stuff. I'd like to see, that's the thing I forgot to ask you, maintenance code enforcement. We've got some major eyesores.
Which ones?
The
Oh, I don't
barn,
want to mention them.
He's working on the ball.
Yes, I talked to him, I laid the law down to him, I said, listen, and they are working on it pretty steady, they're getting it buttoned up.
Okay, but we do have some that are festered, this down here, whatever. But let's just finally get that, these,
I beat my head against the
but
wall.
don't we have a judge that will back this
That's
question?
the problem.
Fined them last time $13,600 and they paid it. And it's worse than it was.
Love it.
So all I can do is just keep going back to the judge. That's all we can do.
But street lighting, street signage, I talked to, I forget who it was the other day, and we talked about this several years ago, is naming the alleys. It's just like when I said the alley behind the funeral home, that alley needs to have a name and a direction. You name it, number it, letter it, east and west it, I don't care what you do. When I say alley number 12 east, you know right where it is, or you can call it funeral home alley and number it.
Yeah, if somebody wants to
Yeah, we should do
name
that.
everything, I'll get with Brad up at.
Yeah.
And we'll get that taken care
And we can quickly identify where a problem is and
Yeah.
where we're going.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see these kind of things talked about. Addendums to our property maintenance. There's some things. Got a price before on an arch tree come into Camden. It would be a silhouette of the town hall, 1818. We can get money for that when we do our street lighting. Sewer plant upgrades. Reconnect to the old wells. That's another thing. Where are we in that whole
I
discussion?
talked to Verdantez Lee Conkle week before last. His opinion, he's gonna write a letter again to the EPA. Those wells are considered abandoned wells now because they've been offline for so long. So EPA says there has to be a 300-foot radius around those wells for them to be operational,
Meaning what?
meaning that they ain't gonna let us use them. So he said his opinion, he's gonna revisit it again, he's gonna copy me in the letter. He said that he thinks it's probably gonna have to go legal, someone to represent the village and deal with the EPA to get that done probably.
Okay, well, but Steve's here now, and we talked about, and this is on my next thing, connecting to all neighboring water systems, and we talked about that. We talked about selling water, pushing water, and you can probably talk about that later. But there's money being made here selling water to some of these dry areas around our community. I wanna push water and sewer north. I've been on council for 20-some years. We've got to move north with water and sewer and try to create somewhere, if it's available, a small and light industrial park, and there's ways to do that, and we can do it, we have the ability. We can establish light industrial, CDBG planning, a curb and sidewalk, we need to get back on that. The mayor talked about our water problems and sewer problems, who was it, talking about lining sewers, it might have been Kramer.
No, you can do it, if it's cheaper than putting in new sewer mains.
So, you know, I'd
Absolutely.
like to, that's something we need to look at, and we've got to throw some of our money at grant writing, and we need to do that. But I know we've got a lot of inline infiltration and all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, old water infrastructure upgrades, we were talking about some of the sewer, name alleys, adding, additional business incentives, like what we did for Medship and for Dollar General and for the steel place. We need to maximize what's available to us to keep and establish maybe more business. We need to find, well, this is probably a light zoning ordinance. The one we talked about, you know, was okay, but might be a little too thick for some of us. Grant applications for use of the capital budget. So I talked to Ben the other day, and he said, get our list together of things that we want for the next capital ask, and that could be money for phase 2, could be money if we wanna try to get back on this building down on South Main, for if we can get everybody on the same page at the library or in the village and the current owner. It can be anything you want, but we need to get our ideas and asks in, because, you know, they're giving away money up there. And then, I think years ago, I got a snap of it, there's a talking about parks, there's park architects out there. If you wanna do parks, I love the idea of expanding and you know, improving our parks, but it would be nice to have a master plan that, all right, again, we'd all put our heads together, see what we want, hand that over to a park architect, and say, this is what we want, this is what we'd like to see, and then we can just build on that. And that way we're not just throwing darts at it. So, so those are the kind of things that, instead of arguing over nonsense, these are some things that we can do that need done, that will improve our village, improve the quality of life for everyone here, and make things look better, be better, and we can do it. So let's move on with some big stuff.
One more we do here, we'll do approval of minutes.
Well, we need to set a bid date for estimates.
So the estimates on this?
On that, so, since, set the bid date the 15th, because that'll be our first meeting, or be our second meeting.
Today's 17th.
Who's gonna pick up the flowers and people in line? They're gonna be picked up May 13th.
No, it's the 15th. 13th or the 15th.
Then 13th.
Well, guys, we'll probably have to have Russell go up and get them,
Just let me know.
but
Do you have a map of where all the valves and lids and all that stuff on?
They're not all correct.
No, a lot of them are in here or in there.
Wasn't Kramer somebody working on overall? Didn't we have somebody come in and create overall?
We have a map for valves, hydrants, mains, sewer laterals.
Was there a GIS? Wasn't there a GIS system we were creating?
Well, we had one, and as we work on stuff, say we do repair a water main, Nelson inputs that stuff in that GIS, so in the future, someone can go to that and say, hey, this is what's done, or this is what's here. So yeah, we work on that as we go.
so what day do we wanna put in the bid date to accept bids for this? We do May 1st, or we do the 15th, cause that'll be our council meeting.
I'd say it's about the 15th council meeting.
And then we'll just, Trina, if you would just advertise that we're going to,
You wanna do it the 14th, so we can discuss it the 15th?
we have to open them, they need to be sealed bids, so tell everyone, no emails,
Sealed bids.
sealed bids. Because but looks like it would've got thrown out anyway because it was not a sealed bid. And then we'll alter them. And go from there. And then if they need, the bidders can contact me if they want to go through. I can take them to these places and show them whatever they need. That's all I got.
Okay, next, approval of the minutes.
I need a correction done on the minutes when they were discussing, in the minutes when it was discussed for the police raise. The people who did it were swapped. I read the motion off your paper and someone else seconded it, so if she could fix that, I appreciate it.
So do you make a motion to approve them with that correction?
Can you do that? I didn't know if we could do that, so I make a motion that we approve the minutes with the correction to the police raise.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? Roll call?
Carla? Yeah. Tyler?
Yeah.
Judy? Yay. Lizzie?
Yay.
Jeff? Laura?
Yay.
Yeah. Wanna wait for that stuff?
What else you got?
We got payroll.
Yeah, it's dry stuff, I mean, you got a guy charges,
Yeah.
you know, about a quarter minute.
We'll make much of the payroll real quick.
Maybe let's pay payroll.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Carla? Yeah. Tyler?
Yeah.
Judy? Yay. Lizzie?
Yay.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Laura? Yay.
Purchase orders and invoices?
Maybe let's pay into that first or invoice.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Carla? Yeah. Kelly?
Yeah.
Judy? Yay. Lizzie?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Laura? Yay.
Yeah, I guess.
I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the section of 121.22 of the revised code.
Second.
Discussion?
If this executive session hearing is anything to do with me or my post, I request that the hearing be public per my right of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 10, Executive Session 125, page 125.
Executive session is private. Roll call?
Yeah, no, who seconded it?
Yeah.
I make a motion. Laura second.
Laura seconded.
Laura. Carla. Yay. Kelly.
What are we going to executive session where you're acting on what she said? What have you done?
I made a motion to
Oh,
enter
okay.
executive
Gotcha.
session.
Executive session is private.
Gotcha.
And I requested if it had to
Did
be.
anything done in executive session will be brought out to here.
Well, per my rights, if it has to do with me solely and my actions, then I can request a public hearing instead of an executive session.
Well, there will be one after the executive session.
Okay, well, if there is any conflict that goes on in executive session, I will walk out of executive session.
That is your right as a council person.
So, we have more call.
Roll call.
Yay. Kelly.
Yeah.
Judy. Yay. Lizzie.
Yay.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Laura. Yay.
Exactly. But I have a name for my alley, Kelly.
Okay. What?
I have a name for my alley.
Oh, okay. We can hear it.
I mean, I don't wanna get rid of money, because I feel like that's kind of what the government wants us to do. But then it's not money, so like just touching money.
Yeah.
If you don't want to touch it, I don't have any.
We're done.
Are you looking?
The roll vote. It's all right, I don't need it. Thank you, there's in there and not, I mean, these are, but I don't, those are myself, first my phone.
Okay, you're gonna vote out of executive session, so I'm leaving. Yeah, thank you all.
Good seeing you.
And I'm not buying my gas at the one station, it's 10 cents more than the marathon. Right across, and why would I say that?
Well, I think you're actually banned from it.
I make a motion to exit executive session.
I second it.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Carla. Yay. Kelly.
Yay.
Judy.
Yay.
Lizzie.
Yay.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Laura.
Yay.
Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Just a minute, Danny, I got something to give you.
I feel fine.
I'm doing it in front of his wife.
Like I said.
There's $22, and that pays for the staplers that, Tina ordered. I'm paying for them. So next time there's anything put on Facebook, they're paid for.
I'll give you the next list. Okay. Get that, well, that pick about too.
In that case, just advice.
Yes. Go to lunch.
Good lunch on it. I don't care what you do with it.
All right, so I vote.
Do we have one? We're gonna make a motion to adjourn? Nobody wants to adjourn? Well, I'm starving, so I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
I'll third it, I'm sorry.
Roll call, please.
Carla. Kelly. Judy.
Yay.
Lizzie.
Yay.